Today, we're jumping into Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, a book that's all about one big, powerful question. How do we actually build the future? Thiel's point is that the next Bill Gates isn't going to build an operating system, and the next Mark Zuckerberg, he's not creating another social network. Just copying what the greats did isn't really learning from them. So, what are you supposed to do instead?
Thiel kicks things off with this absolute killer of a question. He apparently asks this in every single job interview. And it sounds simple, but it's really tough to answer. Why? Because it forces you to think outside of conventional wisdom. Good answers, he says, are the closest we can get to actually seeing the future because they see the present in a totally different light. This very question is the key to finding those hidden secrets that great new companies are built on.
So, that hunt for unique truth, for a secret, that's what leads to real meaningful progress. But Thiel argues that we often get two very different kinds of progress mixed up, and knowing the difference is, well, everything.
All right, so here's the core idea. You've got horizontal progress, which is going from 1 to n. This is all about copying things that we already know work. You've got one typewriter, you build 100 more just like it. That's horizontal. But then you have vertical progress, going from 0 to 1. This is about creating something brand new. You have a typewriter, and you build a word processor. See the difference? That's the real act of creation.
Thiel gives these two ideas really powerful names. Horizontal progress, he calls that globalization. Think about taking something that works in one place and just spreading it everywhere else. Vertical progress, on the other hand, is technology. And it's so important to get this. He doesn't just mean computers and gadgets. For Thiel, technology is any new and better way of doing things. And here's his big contrarian truth. Most people think the future will be all about globalization, but the real game changer, the thing that matters more, is technology, that leap from 0 to 1.
Now, if you're going to create something new, you have to challenge one of the biggest ideas in our society, something we're all taught is a good thing: competition. Thiel argues it's actually the exact opposite. It's destructive.
I mean, this statement just stops you in your tracks, right? We're all taught that capitalism is competition. But just think about it for a second. Capitalism is about accumulating capital, building wealth, but in a state of perfect competition, where everyone is selling the same thing and constantly undercutting each other on price, all the profits get competed away. Nobody accumulates anything. So the lesson is pretty clear. If you want to build something that lasts, don't create just another commodity.
So the goal isn't to become some kind of mustache-twirling monopoly. No, the goal is to build what he calls a creative monopoly. This is a company that's just so good at what it does, it creates something so new and so valuable that it literally has no real competition. Think about Google with search. I mean, who's even a close second? They created a whole new world of abundance, and that's the source of their power.
And this leads to this really funny, kind of sneaky way that companies talk about themselves. Monopolists, they lie to protect themselves from regulators. They'll say something like, "Oh, we're not a monopoly in search. We're just a tiny player in the huge global advertising market." They make their pond seem enormous. But competitors, they do the exact opposite. They lie to themselves. The owner of a British restaurant will claim they're unique by defining their market as the tiny intersection of British food and their specific town, totally ignoring the fact that they're competing with every single other restaurant nearby.
Okay, so if competition is bad and monopoly is the goal, how in the world do you actually build one? Well, it's not about being the first to market. Forget that. It's about being the last mover. You want to be the company that makes the last great development in a market so you can enjoy the profits for decades to come.
Thiel boils it down to 4 main ingredients that almost every durable monopoly has. You've got proprietary technology, network effects, economies of scale, and of course, branding. Let's quickly break down what makes each of these so powerful.
Let's start with proprietary tech, because honestly, it's the most important advantage you can have. But here's the crucial part, the big catch. A small incremental improvement just isn't going to cut it. You can't just be a little bit better to create a real monopoly.
You have to be an order of magnitude better, 10 times. That's the magic number. A 10x improvement is what gives you a clear, undeniable advantage and lets you escape the brutal gravity of competition. Think about it. PayPal made online payments 10 times easier than mailing a check. Amazon offered 10 times as many books as any bookstore. That's the bar you have to clear to get away from the crowd. And the other 3 characteristics? They all work together to lock in that advantage.
Network effects mean your product gets better as more people use it, classic Facebook. Economies of scale give you a massive cost advantage as you get bigger. And a powerful brand, one that's built on the real substance of the other three, cements your monopoly in people's minds. Apple is the absolute masterclass here. The brand is strong because the tech, the scale, and the ecosystem are all real.
So, here's the game plan, and it might sound a little backward at first. You don't go after some massive billion-dollar market on day one. No. You find a small, super specific group of people who have a big problem, and you completely dominate that niche. Facebook started only with Harvard students. Amazon started only with books. Start small, become the king of that small hill, then expand from there.
You know, this whole strategy of deliberately building a monopoly, it's not just a business playbook. It actually comes from a much deeper, more philosophical idea about how we should see the future itself. Thiel argues that your attitude towards the future is what decides whether you can even try to go from 0 to 1.
Okay, take a look at this. Thiel lays out 4 ways to see the future. A definite optimist believes the future will be better and has a concrete plan to make it happen. Think 1960s America building the Apollo program. On the other hand, his big critique of the US today is that we're stuck in indefinite optimism. We kind of feel like the future will get better, but we have no real plan for it. We're just hoping progress happens by chance through random trial and error. And this is exactly why that indefinite mindset just doesn't work for startups. You can't just stumble your way from 0 to 1. You can't treat entrepreneurship like buying a bunch of lottery tickets and hoping one hits. Creating something truly new requires a vision, a plan, a kind of intelligent design. So let's bring this all together. The big takeaway from Thiel is that building the future isn't about luck, it's not about circumstances, it's really a choice between just letting the future happen to you or actually designing the future you want to live in. This right here is the heart of the entire book. Success is not an accident. The future is something that can be designed and built. It's not something that just happens to you. You have agency. You can reject the idea that it's all just chance and actually make definite plans to create a different and a better future.
And that brings us right back around to the beginning, but with a new twist. This is the business version of that first contrarian question. Finding the answer to this means you have to find a secret about the world and then build a plan to share it. And that, well, that's the ultimate task for anyone who truly wants to go from 0 to 1.